Have you ever wondered what goes through someone's head when you're no longer in their life? For her, the quiet you leave behind can say more than words ever could, and your absence can set off a chain reaction of feelings, uncertainty, remorse, and even unanticipated development. This isn't just about relationships, it's also about human psychology and how absence can impact how individuals absorb emotions. It's like putting a stop to your relationship, giving her time to think, overthink, and, in some circumstances, rediscover herself. A person may experience an emotional roller coaster when their significant other abruptly leaves, going from uncertainty and self-doubt to rage and, finally, clarity. In this film, we're revealing 12 things she experiences when you depart, from the initial shock of your silence to the moments when she begins to regain her independence. It's a trip that shows how much influence your presence, or lack thereof, can have. Each stage illuminates how profoundly absence can affect her viewpoint. But this goes beyond her emotions. To comprehend the significant influence silence can have on relationships and personal development. These insights can teach you important lessons about connection, whether you're managing your own emotions or attempting to understand someone else's reactions. You will have a new understanding of the complex emotions associated with disappearing and how they shape her journey toward closure and self-discovery by the end. The first emotion she experiences when you abruptly disappear is confusion. Detachment and the human psyche remain as we delve deeply into each of these 12 emotional stages, revealing the unexpected ways your absence can leave an impression both in her heart and mind. Her mind becomes a whirlwind of thoughts, replaying every recent interaction, conversation, or shared moment, and she may question whether she misspoke or overlooked any signs. This is an instantaneous and automatic reaction to the sudden silence. She starts to wonder what happened and why you've chosen to go silent without warning. This confusion can be overwhelming, especially if there were no obvious signs or issues leading up to your absence. What caused this to change? Her method of attempting to make sense of the situation is constant overthinking. She may find herself going over each text message, remembering the tone of your most recent conversation, or breaking down even the smallest facts in the hopes of finding some hidden sign. Confusion results from more than just a lack of communication. It also comes from the sudden gap in her everyday life. If you were someone she emotionally depended on, your absence upsets the equilibrium she had become used to. All of a sudden, the familiarity and comfort you offered are gone, leaving her with unsolved questions. Beyond the immediate emotions, this condition of uncertainty can be extremely upsetting, giving her the impression that her entire world has fallen into disarray. She is frequently driven by confusion to look for clarity. She might phone or message you directly to ask for an explanation, or she might confide in friends to get their opinion or advice. In other situations, she might utilize social media to dig for clues as to what might have prompted your silence. This process of seeking answers turns into a tiresome and emotionally taxing one that keeps her thoughts focused on you. What makes confusion so potent is that it can take over her thoughts, trapping her in a mental loop where she keeps going over the same situations over and over again without finding a solution. The lack of definitive answers can cause her to become frustrated and self-conscious as she starts to wonder if she unknowingly caused your disappearance. This stage presents both challenges and opportunities for her. Confusion can be uncomfortable and confusing, leading her to overthink things. It can also act as a catalyst for deeper introspection. She may begin to consider her own actions and even the dynamics of your relationship. Though initially motivated by uncertainty, this reflection may eventually transform into clarity as she starts to put her own interpretation of the circumstances together. Confusion finally demonstrates the profound effect your presence had on her. Your abrupt absence creates a clear void that forces her to face the truth of your departure. Although this phase can be emotionally taxing, it also marks the beginning of her emotional journey, which takes her through a spectrum of emotions as she comes to terms with what your disappearance actually means. Number 2. Panic frequently replaces perplexity once it has subsided. An increased sense of urgency and concern marks this phase as she begins to struggle with the worry that something is gravely amiss. Panic is not just about your absence, it's also about the uncertainty it causes and the unsettling sense of losing control as the reality of your appearance sets in. Her mind goes into overdrive, and she starts revisiting past interactions in an attempt to find clues. She might ask herself, did I say something wrong? Did I miss an opportunity to fix things? These thoughts spiral into a desperate attempt to make sense of the situation. She frequently acts impulsively due to this emotional intensity. She may send a string of messages asking if everything is all right or begging for an explanation. These messages could be calm and inquisitive or desperate and emotional, reflecting her increasing distress. If she doesn't receive a response, the panic worsens and she may begin obsessively checking her phone or your social media profiles for activity. Her terror is heightened by the fear of losing you forever. She may fear that you have moved on, found someone else, or chosen to sever all contact. This worry may not always be logical, but emotions at this stage are rarely rational. Uncertainty feeds panic, which for some people is fueled by unresolved issues and the lack of closure. This phase also causes physical signs of anxiety, such as a racing heart, difficulty sleeping, or difficulties focusing on anything but your disappearance. These symptoms cause the panic attack to become overwhelming, impacting her everyday activities and mental health. In times of panic, she may confide in friends or family members in the hopes that they will reassure her or help her understand the situation. But these discussions can occasionally make her feel even more stressed if they offer fresh theories or viewpoints on why you vanished. Rather than bringing her clarity, she might feel even less sure of what to do next. Not only is panic a response to your absence, but it also shows how much she values you being there. Even though the relationship wasn't perfect, she feels that your connection was meaningful on some level, so the thought of losing you sets off such a strong emotional reaction. This stage can be overwhelming, and your sudden silence makes her question her worth and how she contributed to your departure. Even while it might not result in an instant resolution, panic has a purpose by forcing her to face her emotions and inspiring her to look for solutions. Deeper introspection and eventual acceptance may result from this emotional intensity. Like any storms, panic is a tempest of emotions, but as she passes through this stage, the turmoil will start to fade and make way for the next part of her emotional journey. The third journey. When panic starts to subside, self-doubt frequently replaces it. An internal conversation concerning her conduct, worth, and potential involvement in your disappearance characterizes this period. Having self-doubt can be painful and humbling because it means losing yourself and your confidence. The absence of answers forces her to reflect inward. She begins to wonder, was I not good enough? Did I do something wrong? Could I have prevented this? These questions become a relentless loop in her mind, and with no clear resolution, they start to erode her self-esteem. She might replay moments when she felt vulnerable around you, questioning whether those instances pushed you away. Perhaps she thinks about the time she expressed her feelings or leaned on you for support, and wonders if those actions were perceived as weakness or neediness. In her mind, every action, word, or gesture is scrutinized, and she begins to internalize the blame for your absence. Self-doubt can also lead her to compare herself to others. She might think she is not attractive enough or interesting enough. These comparisons are fueled by insecurities, making her feel like she fell short in areas she believes are important to her. This is especially true if she suspects you may have moved on or are interested in someone else. This stage doesn't just impact her self-perception, it can also affect her behavior. She may become more reserved and hesitant to open up to others out of fear of being judged or rejected. This newfound insecurity can extend beyond your relationship, seeping into her interactions with friends, family, and even professional environments. Self-doubt can have a profound impact, changing how she perceives her value in various spheres of her life under certain situations. She may attempt to make up for her perceived flaws by overachieving, concentrating on her appearance, or pursuing attention from others as a result of self-doubt, which might lead her to seek external validation. Although they could momentarily increase her self-confidence, they frequently neglect to address the underlying cause of her emotions, trapping her in a vicious cycle of uncertainty-fueled self-doubt. Your absence left her with unresolved questions, and without clarification, her mind fills the gaps with unfavorable presumptions. Although it's a normal reaction, self-doubt can also be quite overpowering and alienating. On the plus side, though, it can function as a catalyst for personal development and self-awareness. When she starts to acknowledge these emotions, she might begin to confront the negative thoughts and regain her confidence. Although self-doubt is one of the most difficult phases to go through, it's also a chance for transformation. By facing her fears, she can come out stronger, more confident, and better able to manage relationships in the future. This frequently entails thinking back on her strengths, rediscovering her passions, and learning to separate her self-worth from the actions of others. Number 4. Anger. This stage signifies a major emotional shift, as the focus of her sentiments shifts from internal blame to external frustration. Anger frequently starts to rise after the early waves of perplexity, terror, and self-doubt fade. Anger can be empowering in its own right, acting as a barrier to keep out the hurt and vulnerability she has previously encountered. She might initially be frustrated with you because she was annoyed that you vanished without notice or explanation, leaving her to deal with the fallout on her own. Thoughts of how he could have done this to me, or why he lacked the courage to defend himself, can consume her. She may become even more irate if she thinks your silence is cowardly or careless. At this point, she may mentally reenact events to better understand your behavior and intensify her anger, as each unanswered text or unspoken phrase serves as evidence of your alleged disregard. Anger can serve as a means of regaining control over a situation that seemed completely out of her control, but she may also feel frustrated with herself. She might question why she didn't anticipate this or how she let herself get so entangled. This self-directed anger is a continuation of her previous self-doubt, as she grapples with the notion that she allowed herself to be exposed and possibly caught off guard by your disappearance. This stage frequently results in venting. She may confide in friends about her feelings of injustice or betrayal. Venting lets her process her feelings and receive validation from others. Friends may say things like, "You deserve better," or "It's his loss." These discussions have the potential to aggravate her and assist her in beginning to feel less isolated. In certain situations, her rage may show up more overtly, and she may block you on social media. Intense anger is also a necessary step in the healing process because it forces her to face the reality of the situation and start the process of letting go. This is a stark contrast to the earlier stages. The earlier stage of confusion and self-doubt, when she might have been more focused on fixing things or blaming herself, is reflected in the healing process. A relationship. These actions can be both symbolic and practical steps toward emotionally separating herself. She may even feel empowered or satisfied in taking these actions because they enable her to assert her boundaries and regain control over her anger. The narrative reminds her that your disappearance speaks more about your decisions than it does about her value. Number 5. As the emotional tempest subsides, curiosity becomes a more subdued, yet enduring force. This phase is characterized by a relentless desire to learn the cause of your disappearance. Her curiosity frequently centers on you. She will wonder where you are, what you're doing, and why you disappeared. Curiosity is less emotionally charged and more inquisitive than confusion or wrath. It's an attempt to make sense of what happened and get some clarity or understanding. She may do this by looking through your social media accounts, rereading old messages or looking through previous exchanges for clues. Every little detail, like a quip you made casually or a message you sent weeks ago, becomes a piece of the jigsaw she's attempting to solve. These seemingly insignificant details may now reveal a wealth of hidden meaning. She might ask herself things like, "What role did I play in this?" or "Did I miss something obvious?" This self-reflection is frequently motivated by a desire for closure. She wants to know if there was anything she could have done differently, or if your departure had nothing to do with her actions. In other situations, her curiosity may lead her to ask mutual friends or acquaintances for information. She might gently ask how you're feeling right now, whether you've been acting differently, or if you've mentioned her. These discussions are frequently accompanied by a mixture of anxiety and hope, with the former feeling anxious about what she might learn and the latter feeling hopeful that she will acquire some understanding. Curiosity also encourages her creativity. Without spec, it can be challenging to control her thoughts when they stray to hypothetical situations. She may imagine that you're thriving without her. Can be challenging to control her thoughts when they stray to hypothetical situations. She may imagine that you're thriving without her, struggling with your own issues, or even involved with someone else. The unknown creates a void, and her mind automatically fills it with speculation. At this point, social media is important. She might carefully examine your posts if you've kept up an online presence, searching for subliminal messages or indications of change. A status update or a simple snapshot can provoke a lot of inquiries. Is this post about me? Or who is that in the photo? And why does he appear happy? Quietness can be exhausting, but it also serves a Quietness serves a purpose. It allows her to process the situation and transition from raw emotion to a more analytical state of mind by seeking answers. If you've been completely silent, the lack of information can be equally frustrating, leaving her with even more unanswered questions. Can be equally frustrating, leaving her with even more unanswered questions. She's making progress toward comprehension and, eventually, acceptance. But unbridled curiosity can turn into an unhealthy addiction. If she becomes fixated on finding answers, it could keep her from moving on. She could be caught in a vicious cycle of trying to escape by constantly looking for information or reliving the past. She must learn to focus on herself and her own well-being when her curiosity is no longer advancing her. Although difficult, curiosity is eventually a sign of resilience, since it shows her will to understand the circumstance and draw lessons from it. Even though it doesn't give her all the answers she knows, while it may not provide all the answers she needs, it's a crucial first step on the road to emotional clarity and closure. The most intense feelings she will go through when you go is loneliness, which begins to increase gradually as the fact of your absence becomes more real to her than simply missing you. Loneliness is a reflection of the gap in her life. If you were once present, it's not only about losing you, it's also about the comfort, connection, and sense of community you first gave her. It could be subtle, but she might notice that you haven't texted or called, that you haven't spent time together, and that you've stopped talking, create a dreadful emptiness. As the reminders of your absence accumulate, she feels unmoved, as if a piece of her routine has been disrupted, has been disturbed. Loneliness frequently worsens during peaceful or introspective times. Sitting by yourself at a place you've been together, seeing something that makes her think of you, or even listening to a song you both enjoyed might make her feel incredibly alone. These situations seem to intensify the absence, reminding her of the things she's missed, in addition to the emotional impact. Loneliness can affect one's body and mind. Because loneliness has a way of draining her energy and enthusiasm, she may feel exhausted, unmotivated, or unable to focus on her daily tasks. Activities that once brought her joy may now feel hollow without someone to share them with. Social media frequently makes this feeling worse as she scrolls through her feed and sees others celebrating milestones or enjoying their relationships, which contrasts with her own circumstances and makes her wonder why she feels so alone. Even though she rationally understands that social media frequently presents an image of success, this comparison can make her feel even more alone, while others seem to be thriving. She has an idealistic view of life. Despite its suffering, loneliness can also serve as a catalyst for self-discovery, since it gives her the chance to think about her own needs, wants and feelings in the quiet places left by your absence. Being alone, despite its discomfort, compels her to confront her emotions directly. Over time, she might learn to value the fortitude and resiliency she finds within herself in these situations. To deal with loneliness, she may turn to friends, family, or even a therapist for support. Discussing her feelings with them can help her feel less alone and more connected. Taking up new interests. She can eventually regain a sense of purpose and belonging by concentrating on her personal development or joining social groups. She will eventually learn to manage this feeling and use it as a springboard for recovery and self-discovery at Independence number 7. Loneliness is a profoundly human experience that emphasizes the value of connection. Although it is painful, it also serves as a reminder of the ties that give life purpose. Regret. When someone goes missing, the person left behind typically replays memories in their head, wondering if things could have gone differently for her. Remorse is a strong and complicated emotion that frequently accompanies the awareness of your absence. The emotion that stems from the conviction that she may have contributed to your leaving or missed the chance to completely express her feelings may initially develop as transient thoughts or as a painful desire to rewrite the past full of what ifs and if-ons. She may remember instances in which she was aloof, contemptuous or distracted. These memories, no matter how small or large, may assume an excessive amount of significance in her mind. For instance, she may consider whether I could have been more attentive, or what if I had shown how much I cared. This kind of thinking is emotionally taxing because it causes her focus to shift. Remorse from the present to an unalterable past also feeds the need to figure out what went wrong. Even if she is unable to identify a specific instance, she may blame herself for not being intelligent enough, compassionate enough, or talkative enough. She may examine her words and behaviors, looking for instances where she feels she failed or faltered. This mental replay frequently becomes compulsive, as she wonders if she unintentionally pushed you away. Missed chances are a further source of sorrow. She might recall opportunities she had to deepen your relationship, but chose not to include meaningful moments she didn't fully appreciate at the time, affectionate gestures withheld, or in-depth conversations that were left unsaid. She may feel burdened by these missed opportunities, as if she overlooked something significant. As regret lingers, it can affect how she views herself. She may begin to believe that she is defective or unable to sustain fulfilling relationships. As she starts to doubt her capacity to be a decent partner, this might cause her to become insecure and self-conscious. This kind of regret doesn't only center on the relationship's end, it also makes her question her own value, but it can also be a driving force for personal development as she works through her emotions and may identify behavioral patterns she wishes to alter. For example, if she realizes she was too critical or emotionally distant, she may deliberately work to improve these qualities in subsequent relationships. When combined with reflection, remorse can serve as a useful teacher that aids in her emotional development and the formation of closer bonds. Going ahead to deal with regret. Over time, as she processes the pain and learns from the experience, the intensity of her regret will lessen, and she will realize that, although she cannot change the past, she can use its lessons to create a more fulfilling future. She may seek closure by reaching out to you or finding peace within herself. Writing down her feelings, talking to trusted friends, or seeking therapy can all give her an outlet for these emotions. Relief. Some women experience relief after processing the stress, confusion, and pain of a relationship that was unfulfilling or had become emotionally draining. In these situations, relief may manifest as a complex and bittersweet feeling that represents an unspoken form of closure or liberation. Relief may seem like an unexpected emotion to feel when someone disappears, especially when that person once played a significant role in her life. Because the emotional intensity has decreased, she may initially experience a surge of relief because the turmoil, uncertainty, and continual overanalyzing that frequently accompany an unresolved relationship are no longer at the forefront of her thoughts. She may think, "At least I don't have to keep wondering what went wrong, or I don't have to keep pretending everything is fine for some people, since there is no longer any conflict drama or emotional upheaval, which allows her to breathe more easily." If she had been carrying emotional loads as a result of ongoing misunderstandings, a lack of communication, or misaligned expectations, the relief might come from the relationship itself being unhealthy or unbalanced. Your withdrawal can offer a sort of silent freedom. In this way, the relief doesn't always imply gladness at your absence, but rather the removal of the significant emotional burden that came with sustaining the relationship. The tension that once pervaded every interaction can dissolve, making place for clarity and emotional space. Relief can also come from knowing that she no longer has control over the choice to continue on, together or apart. When she is relieved of the burden of attempting to mend the relationship, she can let go of the pressure to maintain something that might not have been sustainable. It enables her to focus on herself, free from the emotional burden of a troubled relationship, but this respite can be challenging. Relationships should bring fulfillment, not distress, so she often feels guilty or conflicted about feeling relief. She may question whether her relief indicates that she never really cared or that she failed in some way. These emotions can lead to a conflicting emotional state where she experiences guilt for not feeling more upset, yet simultaneously expresses gratitude for the emotional space she has created. Commence her healing journey by providing an opportunity for self-reflection and emotional rehabilitation. Without having to worry about what went wrong all the time, she may use this time to rediscover herself and concentrate on her personal development. This could inspire her to pursue her interests, strengthen her bonds with family and friends, and spend money on things that she enjoys, foster her emotional health. The relief will eventually turn into something more constructive, like a feeling of empowerment, as she finds comfort in the silence. Even though relief may come with a range of emotions, it is frequently a necessary step toward healing and moving forward because it enables her to process the end of the relationship and start the process of regaining emotional balance. After the storm, she may realize how much she can manage on her own. This newfound strength can boost her confidence and allow her to move forward with clarity, knowing that she is not defined by any one relationship, but by her resilience and ability to overcome adversity. Number 9. Strength and independence. Obsession. When someone goes missing without warning, it's normal for the person left behind to get fixated on trying to figure out why. Uncertainty and a lack of closure are common causes of obsession, which causes her to obsess over every aspect of the relationship in an attempt to find answers she might never find. Replaying previous exchanges or closely examining texts and social media for any hint that could explain your disappearance are just 2 examples of the various ways that obsession can manifest. When the other person's actions or silence go unaccounted for, her mind naturally tries to make sense of it. She may go over every interaction, gesture, and word spoken in an attempt to figure out what she missed. Was there a sign of your intentions? Did she say or do something that drove you away? This obsession frequently arises from the need for control over a situation that feels out of her control. The never-ending quest for answers becomes exhausting, frequently keeping her up at night or diverting her from everyday tasks. Understanding why you left is only one aspect of the obsession. Another is the emotional fallout from unresolved issues. She may obsess over your current activities, whether you've moved on or are seeing someone else. This can result in compulsive checking of your social media profiles or asking mutual friends about you in the hopes of learning more about your life. This is the mind's attempt to relieve emotional tension and obsession. After disappearing in this state, the need to take charge of the circumstance becomes overwhelming. She may find herself stuck in a loop where she keeps going back in time without ever finding any true closure, because her mind is always reliving old messages or conversations and looking for hidden meaning. This cycle of overthinking can leave her intellectually and emotionally spent. When the demand for reconciliation or closure is not satisfied, obsession also develops. She may romanticize the relationship by concentrating on its positive aspects and forming an unrealistic impression of you. In certain instances, this mental construct keeps her from recognizing the scenario for what it really was, feeding her obsession. Unhealthy habits like reaching out frequently without getting a response might result from obsession. This may be an effort to discover solutions and end the cycle of ambiguity, but it frequently causes additional emotional pain. Despite the possibility that contacting you will restore control or understanding, the addiction persists. When someone departs from her life, she may experience a sudden disruption. The abrupt loss of someone who may have been a constant presence brings with it a period of emotional turmoil. But as the initial shock and pain begin to subside, many women find themselves rediscovering their independence. Eventually, the obsession will fade, but only after a period of emotional processing. As she gains perspective, the fixation will shift toward letting go and accepting the situation through reflection, time, and self-care. From there, she will start to move toward healing number 10. She will gain self-awareness and the opportunity to rediscover aspects of herself that the relationship may have overlooked. The realization that she no longer needs the other person's emotional validation or support for her thoughts and feelings, which were once possibly influenced by the relationship, is now entirely her own in the quiet after their departure, and can be both liberating and empowering. She may find herself pursuing interests, hobbies, or long-forgotten dreams, such as picking up a book she had put aside or beginning a fitness routine she had been meaning to try. The time and energy that were previously devoted to another person are now invested in herself, and this shift signifies the beginning of her emotional and mental independence. Freedom. This time of self-reclamation also gives her the opportunity to assess her own principles and objectives. She may, re-evaluate her goals in life and relationships, asking herself crucial questions like what makes her truly happy and what she wants to accomplish for herself, rather than for someone else. By finding the answers to these questions, she develops a stronger sense of self that is based on her own goals, rather than being defined by the demands or expectations of others. Strengthening ties with others is another benefit of independence. She may reconnect with old friends or family members who may have been neglected during the romantic entanglement, rediscovering the support system that existed prior to the relationship becoming her main priority. As she grows more independent, she also learns to rely on herself for emotional stability. She no longer needs someone else's approval or presence to feel whole, and over time, this independence turns into a source of strength and confidence that enables her to face challenges head-on and make decisions based on what is best for her, rather than being influenced by the presence or absence of someone else. She discovers that her happiness originates from within herself, and by reclaiming her independence, she can emerge from the emotional devastation of the relationship stronger, more confident, and better equipped to tackle future challenges. The lesson of independence teaches her to make her own decisions and to be self-sufficient. Hope. When someone leaves her life, the emotional journey can be too much to handle. In the midst of uncertainty, hope acts as a quiet but persistent force, providing a glimpse of light in an otherwise dark period. She believes life has more to offer, that things will get better, and that she will find fulfillment. At first, there may be confusion, panic, and intense feelings of loss, but as the silence lengthens, something unexpected starts to emerge. Happiness and tranquility once more. This type of hope is rooted in the knowledge that she has the strength to overcome the current challenge, and that this moment of pain will not last forever. In the face of rejection or abandonment, hope gives her the belief that her life will continue to unfold in meaningful ways. It is the tiny, almost imperceptible feeling that tomorrow might be better. Hope in this context is not about expecting the other person to return or about wishing for things to return to how they were. Rather, it is the hope for personal growth, emotional healing, and the eventual realization that her worth is not defined by the presence or absence of another person. This hope acknowledges the anguish and pain she experiences as a result of the disappearance, but it also provides a vision of a better future where she will be able to go forward with fortitude and resiliency. Believing that every event, no matter how unpleasant, can teach us something worthwhile is one way hope shows itself. Hope is the understanding that, even during painful times, there is room for development and that she might start to learn more about her needs and boundaries. Maybe she discovers that her emotional landscape is more resilient and nuanced than she previously believed, or that she is stronger than she initially believed. Hope also exhorts her to read and find delight in the little things in life. While it's easy to emotionally shut off after someone leaves, hope reminds her that her life is full of potential and that there are still many experiences to be had. For some, hope may take the form of a renewed belief in love or relationships. Even without the person who once played a significant role in her life, she can still find happiness and satisfaction in activities such as spending time with loved ones, pursuing a long-held passion, or simply enjoying the peace that comes with solitude. Hope creates opportunities for potential future relationships. The idea that trust, love, and intimacy are still possible inspires hope. Knowing that someone else might eventually come into her life who will value and appreciate her for who she really is could encourage her to heal and mature. Hope also reminds her that life is full of cycles and that the suffering she is going through right now is only one part of a much bigger tale. In this way, hope becomes a choice, because it reassures her that she is not trapped in this moment indefinitely and that things will change over time. Although she may not be able to control the circumstances or the timing, she can control her attitude and her response. She chooses to perceive this as a pivotal moment rather than a definitive conclusion, and maintains her belief in the impending arrival of better things. In the end, hope enables her to face the future with the assurance that, despite how difficult things may be right now, there is always room for development, new experiences, and recovery. Knowing that she can overcome this setback and come out stronger, wiser, and more confident is what gives her the quiet strength to face each day with newfound resolve. Number 12. Closure becomes the ultimate objective after going through the emotional upheaval that follows someone's abrupt absence. When she is able to let go of the past and go on in peace, it is the last phase of emotional healing. Closing isn't always a simple or straightforward procedure. It's frequently a very personal journey that requires introspection and occasionally self-acceptance. It signifies the close of an emotional phase that allows her to let go of any residual sentiments of bewilderment, rage, or remorse. When someone goes missing without giving a reason, she may wonder why they left, what she did wrong, or whether the connection was genuine. These unanswered questions can linger in her mind for months or even years, leaving emotional residue. The first part of closure frequently originates within herself. However, as time goes on and she reflects on herself, she realizes that not all questions have answers and that some things in life are out of her control. Closure necessitates accepting that not all unresolved issues can find a resolution, and occasionally embracing that ambiguity. Closure may result from a last discussion or a revelation from the other party. This may occur if they come back to apologize or offer an explanation for their disappearance, although this is not always the case. She may realize that her value is not dependent on the behavior or presence of another person, which enables her to let go of the emotional bond and confidently go on. Self-empowerment, not other people, brings her closure. Putting her sentiments on paper can also be a very effective method for her to process them and find closure. Many people discover that writing down their relationship-related thoughts. The disappearance can help untangle complex emotions and their sentiments. Regardless of whether she decides to share these works or not, writing enables her to release the grief and confusion she may have been holding inside. The act alone provides emotional comfort. Opening the door to resolution. Another crucial component of closure is forgiveness, whether it is for herself or the other person. It's about releasing herself from the clutches of resentment, not about forgetting what happened or justifying any harsh behavior. Forgiveness enables her to let go of negative feelings that might leave her mired in the past. This does not mean she must reconnect. It simply means she is choosing to move on from the emotional burden it has caused. Closure entails turning her attention to her own development and future. She has made the deliberate choice to put the past behind her and focus her energies on new experiences, objectives, and chances. She can make space for new relationships by releasing the emotional burden of the past. With new experiences and a better understanding of herself, the process of closure enables her to re-evaluate her goals in life and relationships, making sure that her future decisions are in line with her own needs and beliefs. Finally, closure brings an end to the emotional turmoil that follows a disappearance. Even though it might require patience and time, it enables her to move forward with more power and wisdom after healing and accepting the past. In order to completely embrace the lessons learned, apply them to her life, and move forward into a future that is no longer shaped by the other person's absence, closure is a crucial IAL stage in regaining her mental health and peace of mind.